So, we're going to go over advanced footwork and combinations today. We're going to try to go real fast so you get more reps in. All right, when and why to move. Times you can move before, that's before attacking or during the approach. So that means you can move around while you're out of range, and that's going to cause your opponent to be reactive even before you commit to engagement. And then you can move during the approach, which means you're going to come in at one angle and then you're going to change what angle you're coming in from to force a reaction out of your opponent. During, so you can move during the exchange, which means hopefully you're going to use thinking and you're going to integrate your footwork into your punches, which means you're going to use footwork that makes your punches land harder without requiring you to slow down. And after, you can move or change your angle after you throw the exchange. So what we're going to work on right now, I'm going to just give you a 1-1-2. You can add whatever punches you want, but I want you to practice moving around out of range. Then I want you to practice moving into range and changing your angle while you're moving in. Then I want you to move during whatever your combination is. And then I want you to practice moving out of range on an angle. So either coming out to the left or coming out to the right. Does that make sense? So 1-1-2 and then whatever combination you want to put on the end of it. All right, go ahead. And time. All right, so that was pretty good. Automatically, when you focus on movement, you see how much more you moved when you were throwing your combinations. You should always move like that. If I'm just barking out combinations at you, you should be doing it like that. So anyway, that was good. So why are you moving? Number one, first and foremost, I always come back to this principle. Footwork is the cheapest form of head movement, right? Requires the least amount of energy to get your head in a position where it's less likely to get hit. Next, there are offensive reasons behind changing your angle and adding good footwork to whatever your combinations are. So that's attacking from various positions, right? It's harder to counter. So what happens is you're going to be able to move into a position, throw a couple punches, move into a different position. Now the opponent can't defend, whether that's through an offensive action or a transition to offense, or whether he's just blocking, right? So you put yourself in position, and then all of a sudden, bang, now you hit her, right? So, B, setting up follow-on actions. If you're moving, if you're playing chess while the other guy's playing checkers, what you do is you hit him over here and then you move, and then all of a sudden you've got different opportunities. What you want to do is you want to try to line those up so that everything you do is kind of synergistic towards what the next thing you're going to do is. Make sense, right? Kind of obvious, but we got to go over these things. They're all things you should think about while you're not while you're punching somebody, right? And then maintain the dominant relative position. So once you've seized the initiative, you need to maintain it. And one of the ways that you can maintain it is by presenting different looks. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get back on the bag and we're just going to say that we've already closed range and we're going to work on changing up our location through the combination. You can give me whatever 4 to 6 punch combination you want, but I want you to use the same one over and over again. And I want you to try changing your position, whether it's by range, level, or angle at different parts through the combination. Go ahead. All right, so that was using offense and integrating good footwork with the offense. When it comes to defense, right, the whole reason that we keep moving, even in the middle of throwing a combination, is for the defensive purpose of being hard to pinpoint. So if you stay in one place, it's going to be easier to get countered. So especially if you have somebody on the ropes, you hit them over here, move over a little bit, hit them over here, 2 to 3 punches. Take a small angle or sometimes take a big angle. And now what's going to happen, now it's going to be way harder for the opponent to punch their way out of that situation. And you're sending misinformation, right? You're sending out, oh, I'm over here. Well, that's going to be the last thing that your opponent has to react to. And then you change. And these things together, the offense and the defense, come to the Belisarius principle. And that is all offense should be inherently defense and all defense should be inherently offensive. You always want to integrate the two. They always say a good defense is what do they say? A good offense is the best defense. Well, that's true, but you always need to be defensively minded. You need to make sure your passive defenses, your head movement, your foot movement, all those things are aligned to maintaining your safety while you're going through the process of offending. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get real close to the bag. We're going to throw a 1-2. We're going to back out a step, and then we're going to change angle. And you're just gonna do it again. You're gonna come in, throw 1, 2, back up, change angle. And you can go either way. You go left or right. You could go left with really big. You could go right really big. Or you could go small. Try different angles. But just want you to throw 1, 2, 1 step back, and then take an angle. All right, so we kind of went over the when and the how to move, or the when and the why rather. Now we're going to talk about how. So amplitude and frequency. Amplitude is how far, how wide you're moving. So if you're just talking in the most basic of terms, the farther out you are, the larger the amplitude, right? So if you see here, that's the enemy right there. You're far away, you have big, wide movement. And that's because if the enemy doesn't feel any compulsion whatsoever that you're going to attack them from that far away, the whole reason you do that is because now you're influencing whatever and however and whenever the engagement is going to happen, right? So you move, they're forced to turn. Now, they could ignore you, and arguably, if they do that, they're seizing the initiative through inaction, which seems kind of paradoxical, but it's true, because if they don't move, it shows that they don't care. So the big movements are to try to force some kind of reaction that you can evaluate. Secondly, how hard you turn, right? So we talk about while you're close, you can take either a very slight or a much bigger angle. And there's reasons for both, but until you know how your opponent's going to react to any type of movement, you don't really want to dedicate yourself to one or commit yourself to one without having some sort of idea of what the reaction's going to be. And lastly, how these affect the punches. When you learn how to throw effective combinations with footwork, you make the punches and the footwork synergistic, which means you're going to generally move in the same direction as the fist so you can integrate your body weight with the punch. Frequency. So how does frequency change? Well, basically, what you're doing is going to influence how frequently you move. If you're being more defensive, you're probably actually going to move a little bit more because you're a little bit more worried about being counterpunched. If you're being more offensive, you can deliver more punches and then move, as long as you know what your speed is in relation to your opponent and your reaction timing. So does frequency change through the duration of the exchanges? Well, yes, it does. If you're going to remove the amplitude, that at least provides you the opportunity to move more frequently. And if you're hesitant about moving, you should do it less and you should focus more on range. If you know you have a better understanding of angle than your opponent does, then by all means use that better understanding. So that's a bunch of fancy words to say. While you're farther out, use bigger and less frequent moves. And when you get closer, you should move a little bit more frequently, and you have the ability to use smaller movements. So if you're going to pie, like you're going to pie step, you're going to bring your lead foot in, you're going to take a real small angle, well, that's fine. Do it, throw a punch, move back the other way. Take care that you're not just moving back and forth across the center line, right? Hit on a side, get closer to the center line, but you should minimize more than anything else. The thing you want to do the least is just move across the center line, simply for the fact that that's where your opponent is most likely to hit you with the most mechanical efficiency. So now what I want you to do is practice stalking your opponent. Come away, make big movements, and then I want you to commit to an angle, and when you get close, change angle again and deliver your combination. Does that make sense? Yep, so start a reasonable distance out. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 paces away. There you go, like about where you back up a little bit. There we go, from there. Move with big and slow motions here. Then come in on an angle. Come in, good. Now change angle. Good, and now throw your attack. And if you're gonna throw more than 2 or 3 punches, change the angle again, and then throw 2 or 3 more punches. There you go. Now practice that until that's comfortable and that becomes second nature. Now you're learning how to dictate the terms of the exchange even before you're committed to the exchange. All right, so a couple principles real quick. So now we're going to talk about actually moving while we're in the exchange, right? So mobility is better than durability. If you can move, it's a whole lot better than being able to get punched. Obviously, right? But you'll see there's a whole bunch of people out there who just kind of throw that one out the window. All right, next, efficiency is king. The more efficient you can be, the better. And again, that's why we focus so heavily on footwork, because it alleviates the need to just constantly move your torso like this, like some idiots will have you do. All right, evasion is better than absorption. Close to mobility is better than durability, but the fact is, if you can move, you're gonna get less damage than if you try to catch and block all the time. So you wanna create synergy between your hands and your feet. So that means you want to move into the punches. So when you throw a 3, you want your fist and your body to be moving in the same direction. So that's why I tell you to move into it. Now, you can't always do that. This is principle, if you ever read, was it Jack Dempsey's book? He always talks about falling into your punches. And if you're falling into your punches, it's the same thing as moving with your punches. And again, what are you trying to achieve? If you're trying to be evasive, then being able to pivot with a 3 away from the direction of the punch helps you move quickly and evasively. But if you want to use the 3 to make it harder while still staying mobile, you want to move in the same direction as the fist. Now, unfortunately, that means you're going to have to cross the center line, so there's a couple other things you're going to have to do. But what we're going to work on right now is we're going to work on throwing just a 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to throw the jab, and you can step in, you can close range if you like to with the jab or not. It's kind of inconsequential. You're going to throw the 2, and we're going to throw the 3 with a pivot that moves us away. And then the next time you throw it, you're going to use a pivot that brings you into the 3. So it'll be 1, 2, 3. The 3, because it's a lead hand, all of your lead side punches, you can throw and move in any direction. It's different with the rear hand. The rear hand, there's a whole big long spiel about that. But with the lead hand, you can move both directions. So we're going to practice going 1, 2, 3, and you're going to roll out of the punch. Then we're going to do 1, 2, 3. You're going to step into the punch. Yeah, I'll show you on the bag. All right, so one of the things that you kind of figured out going through that process was you can use the lead hand going in both directions, right? So you throw 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that's great. All right, can't really do that with the rear hand. The problem with the rear hand is if you try to pivot on it, right? Because your foot's back, it's not gonna do what you want it to do. Now, there are occasions to pivot on the rear foot. If you're being charged, you can step and pivot like this, but you gotta step with the foot first. Step, which is gonna leave you completely squared up with your opponent. So this is more, I'm in retrograde motion, and he's charging after me, and I step and pivot here, trying to get him to go here. That makes sense, right? Cover with the right hand, follow it up. It's easier to just do this because there's no step required, but that's neither here nor there. So the other thing is, what are your hands doing at this point? If you're doubling up on a right hand, so what we're about to do is we're gonna do an offline move to the rear side, and we're just gonna throw 1, 2, 6. Now, because throwing the rear hand is slower than doubling up on the lead side, it's always a good idea to throw some head movement in there. Fill the time space with head movement. So what we're gonna do is 1, 2, we're gonna slip, and we're gonna step with that slip. So 1, 2, step and a slip, and then we're gonna come up and do an uppercut. Bang. Now, I'm kind of squared up right here, so what I could do is move the other foot, 1, 2, step. Now I'm in a better foot position. Come up into that uppercut. If you have to go fast, you don't really have to move the lead foot. You can stay in that bad position so long as you know what you're going to do immediately afterwards. So if you're going to come up into that uppercut and you don't have good enough time to fix your foot position, immediately dive into a 3. That's fine. But we're going to practice 1, 2, slip with a step, and then this foot's going to recover, so we're back into our fight stance, and we're going to come up into that 6. All right? Go ahead and give it a try. what we saw, this is what I call the easy, safe route. Where are you going? So typically, as you're coming towards each other, your opponent isn't just going to let you square off on them, right? They're not going to let you, or tee off on you. They're not going to let you come out to the side in a T-junction where you can't hit them with at all, and they can hit you with impunity, right? Or vice versa. They're not going to let you all wind up not facing each other. So typically, you're going to wind up in the center first. All right. So if you don't know what the hell you're doing, start with the center, and then try to get off their center line. Now remember, this is all relative orientation. So you always want them to be on your center line, and you always want to be off their center line. It's like a tank battle, right? You don't want to be in front of their gun, and you don't want them to be not in front of your gun. You want to keep them in front of your gun, wherever your gun is, right? That's your center line. That's the most destructive place you have. So you start closer to their center line, and then you move away from it in either direction, because now you have this immediate effect of reducing their combat power. Now, you have two options. You can either move out from the center, so you start in the center, you move out, and you could go back towards the center. I don't recommend crossing the center line. That's more advanced. But I recommend you can get closer to it, right? And then you start attacking again. Now, why would you do this? Well, what you're trying to do is when you step off, you're trying to get them to reorient. When they do that, if they overcommit, you come back towards the center. Now you can attack them. Does that make sense? All right. If you want to be more evasive and you want to be safer, then you do what we just did. We threw that 1-2 slip, we threw the 6, and then we kept moving to the right. So we started on the center, we moved out, and then we assed out completely. And what you would do then is after that 3, you probably would just throw a 2 to cover yourself, and then you would retreat. Does that make sense? All right, so a little bit more dangerous now is if you start from outside and you try to move your way into their center line, again, to force an overcommitment. So what you would do is you would start slightly off. If this is their center line, you want to try to get here or here, so that your opponent makes an adjustment to there or there. And then that's where you would actually engage your attack. So what I want you to do is I want you to come in, when you get in range, step off, throw a 1-2, and then I want you to get closer to the center line, with the assumption being that it would move to correct, and you attack them when they correct. They overcorrect. Right? You could throw 1-1-2, you could throw 1-2, you could throw 1-2-3. Kind of inconsequential, but I want you to start offline and then move online. Go ahead. All right, time. So what that is, and again, we kind of worked on one side particularly, it's cultivating comfort on that side. So you want to be able to punch effectively and securely on one side or the other, because that's kind of the intermediate, right? You want to be able to move towards the center line, and once you've become comfortable with that, then you can work on the advanced. And the advanced part here is crossing the enemy center line, right? It's advanced and it's dangerous because that's the place where your opponent's the most efficient. It requires superior timing and range management. That means you have to know where you are, and you have to know when they're punching so that you can cross the center line during one of those intervals where they're not actually striking, obviously. But C, it requires you to integrate range, level, and angle. So besides having superior timing and range management, you have to understand range, level, and angle well enough so that if they are striking while you're crossing the center line, you have done something. You've either outranged, so you've stepped across with your head out of range, which is super dangerous because if they hit you, they're going to drop you right on your ass. Or you've changed level, which is typically what I advocate. Or you just change angle really quickly, and you can do it in the space while the punch is being delivered, while you're still out of range. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's dangerous. So until you've practiced being able to move to the center line and identifying those gaps, you'll never be able to effectively move across the center line, right? So that's why we have to practice moving away, moving towards, and then ultimately crossing, and then integrating all three to present a better offensive and defensive package to help you enact all of the required skills here. All right, so go ahead, shadow box. That's it for the learning part. But I want you to work on changing angle without having a thing in front of you as a point of reference for that angle change.